What's up guys, welcome back to On the Brick. On Tuesday, I promised you if I got the rest of the pieces to the gunship, I would display it today. What I wasn't able to say is that when that video was uploading, I went to go check my mail and the pieces were there. In other words, this set was actually finished before that video went up. So, let me bring it in. Now this is a tremendous set. It's extremely well designed and it looks really good. And of course you probably already know that it comes from Brickvault, though to be perfectly clear, they only sell the instructions. The original design actually comes from someone who has made plenty of sets for Brickvault, and his name is David Buchholz. He's the same guy that designed the Republic Dropship, the ATTE, and the soon-to-be-released ATAP. In fact, I'm pretty sure that comes out today. Now this is the first set of his that I have actually built, but wow, it is really, really good. He put a lot of thought and care into this set to make it accurate, and honestly, it was just really fun to build. Like everything that you can get from Brickvault, this is minifig scale, and it measures in at 18 inches long, 17 inches wide, and 6 inches tall. That's 46 by 43 by 15 centimeters, and that does include the cannons on the front and back. And as the completed set continues to spin around, you can see a lot of the details and interesting angles that David had to use to put this thing together. And if you saw Tuesday's video, I'm very happy to say that I had zero issues with the back once I put the completed wings on. I'm still not entirely sure what the issue was, but whatever I did seems to have fixed it. As is the case with a lot of LEGO sets, the camera does not do this thing justice. Having it in front of you is completely different than what you're seeing on screen now. Because if you like what you're seeing now, I guarantee you it looks 10 times better in person. Still though, let's take a closer look. On the front of the ship, you can see David managed to get this black stripe in, something that the LEGO sets have tried, but the way he does it here is really interesting. Another thing about the front of the ship is that both cockpits actually do open up as well and allow room for minifigures. You can also see just how smooth he made that area behind the cockpits to the engines look. It's something that the LEGO sets haven't really done properly, and this looks really good. And even now as I look at it again, I just love how this thing looks. So this is a little weird, but one of my favorite parts of the ship are actually these side panels that you saw a little more closely on Tuesday. But I just love how smooth these are. I love how he worked the angles to fit, and I love how he was able to get them connected to the ship. Because even though this doesn't use the snot technique, it does manage to still be a little smooth, and even though there are no wedge tiles, which there really should be, it still does a good job at capturing the complex geometry of this set. When you're putting these on, you actually have to start on the one on this side because there's a little more to it, as it's not just the side panel on this one, but also areas for the cockpit as well. But then after you do that side part, it actually has you do this top smoother area, which forces the pieces to be in the correct position so then you can put on this other side panel without a problem. And that doesn't just show how well this set was designed, it also shows how well the instructions were thought through. Because they easily could have just asked you to put the side panels on and then the top, but the way they did it really forces the set to work and it makes it easier on the builder. Now there are plenty of functions that I'm going to show throughout this build, but one I wanted to talk about were these front turrets. You don't really want to move them around too much. As you can see, because of the way that they're built in there, when you move them, the whole thing moves, and it's a little difficult to move just the actual turret. But it's obviously not impossible, so if you wanted to, you really easily could. Of course, the biggest and most well-known function of the gunship are the side doors, which open up extremely smoothly. Now you can probably see it there, but a piece popped off, which is the only reason this back door isn't sliding in smoothly. But if you build this set, do know that you should always put the front door in first and then the back door. Because as you can see, doing it the other way means that you're not going to be able to fit the front door in there without a little bit of a hassle. Now that I fixed the back door properly, you can see it open and closes without any sort of problem, and also just how much smoother the whole process is if you put the front door in first. And I really love how flush these doors are with the rest of the build. I remember being so excited for the 2008 gunship, as I thought it was one of the greatest LEGO sets ever, and even though I happily own that and the 2014 gunship, this thing just blows them out of the water. Now, like those sets, the front turrets are a little fragile and are easily able to fall off, but they're just as easily able to be put in back on. That sentence made no sense. I'm gonna keep that one though, that one made me laugh. Point being, these are going to fall off, but it's not that big of a deal. Now, one thing I didn't show last time were these ball turrets on the wings. I love how these are designed, and I didn't really get a good shot of underneath the wing, but it is on both sides, meaning top and bottom, and the way that they make it work is just a really well done design as well. Now, there is one more function. If you know this set, you already know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, you've probably been wondering what these gray barrels are sticking out the side. Short answer is, that's where the attachments go. Now, it is possible to pop just the top of the barrel off. I think you're supposed to take the whole thing out. It doesn't really matter, the end result is the same, because as you can see, it is just that easy to slip the headlight right on in. And here's the gunship with both headlights on. I personally really love this attachment. I don't know why, I just think it looks really cool. You are able to move them up and down. I just have it flat because of the table. Part of the reason you're supposed to take out the whole barrel when you put these in is because if you don't, it's going to come out anyway when you try to switch them out. Now, you don't really need to worry because it's not that hard at all to put it back in, because really this Technic axle is the important part, and all you need to do is line it up with that yellow Technic pin you see inside. And doing so is extremely easy and takes only a matter of seconds. The other attachment that comes with this set are these turrets that clones are supposed to sit in. You're going to see me struggle to put one on, but that was because of my own mistake. Since clones are supposed to sit in this, there actually is a seat included, and that is obviously supposed to be facing the bottom. Me from an hour ago kind of forgot that, and so I was trying to put it in upside down, something that still should have worked, but I'm thankful it didn't because I realized that. Here you can see the seat that I was talking about. You can open this up and put a figure inside. I don't plan to really use these, so I just didn't do that for this video, but you can if you want to. Regardless, it still slides in pretty easily, and then you can put it right into place. So here's the gunship with those turrets in place, and seeing this gave me an idea, because technically this style of gunship doesn't exist, at least as far as I'm aware. However, because of the way these turrets are built, and especially because of the way that those doors are built, it would be extremely easy to modify this ship so that you can take those doors out and have the turrets where they actually go and form an episode 2 version of the gunship. When I say extremely easy, I mean like absolutely extremely, no more than 10 minutes of work easy. So with all that said, how does this ship handle? What might surprise you if you build this is that it's actually a little heavy. Now, I don't personally own a scale, but I can tell you that it is a good bit heavier than any of the Lego versions of the gunship. So when you pick this up, you can pick it up from the top. Make sure you're not grabbing from the doors, but from the top, but always put a hand underneath it. The design is stable and you're not going to have pieces coming off, but just because of the weight, you really want to give it an extra helping hand, just in case. That said, it is still primarily a display model. I do shake it around and move it around a bit, and everything was totally fine, but I wouldn't play with this thing too much. Of course, with this set being minifig scale, that should mean that minifigs can fit in it, and of course they do. There are no studs for pilots in the cockpit, but there are details in there and seats for them to go into. And what's actually really cool is that when you fit the pilots inside the cockpits, they just stay in place. You don't even need the studs or anything, they just stay there perfectly fine. Also, I just realized I don't own any P2 gunship pilots, and I'm not sure why those are different than ARC 170 pilots, but I guess they are. But you can still fit a ton of people into the back of the gunship. In Brickvault's video, they showed a modest 6 figures sitting inside, but if you really want, you can squeeze more in, and I was able to get a total of 11 inside. That said, the front door closed, but the back got caught on the figure. But with that in mind, I think you can still easily fit 8 or 9 figures inside. Okay, so I did promise that I would compare this to the 2014 gunship, but I am gonna have to break the fourth wall just a little bit, so let's do that now. That's right, I film on a table in the middle of my living room. But that said, you can see the differences between these two ships, with Legos obviously being way more blocky, and it's also bigger. But like most of what they do, Brickvault's version is way more accurate. Brickvault's is way more flush and smooth, but again, it is primarily meant to be a display piece, while the Lego version is obviously meant to be a playset. Back in about 3.5 wall territory, here is the gunship next to my First Order TIE Fighter, and I am very quickly realizing that I need a much better place to film these things. But to use a set that actually fits within the walls, here is an Episode 3 Jedi Starfighter. together. And that's it. This is absolutely one of my favorite builds out there. This thing is extremely well designed. It was a lot of fun to put together. And like I said, the instructions are really good too. There was only one step I can remember where I wasn't entirely sure what to do. But it didn't take long to figure out, and that's because, again, this whole thing is just really, really good. I don't like to give ratings on things because for the most part they're kind of meaningless in the end, but just to emphasize how much I like this thing, if I had to give it a rating, it would definitely be a 9 out of 10. Again, if you watched Tuesday's video, you would know that some pieces are a little too rare to find, and I did have that whole problem with the back, and I'm not entirely certain if that was me or the build. The one actual downside of this entire set is that the instructions never tell you when to put the wings in, and I personally think that's something that should be included. But it worked out in the end. So if you were looking at this and you weren't too sure if you should get it or not, the answer is yes. Yes, you should, like right now. It is a little on the expensive side, and substituting those rarer pieces doesn't help too much, but I can guarantee that if you do buy this and you do build the set, you will love it. And that's all for today. So let me know what your thoughts are on this gunship down below. Are you planning on building it? Do you have any thoughts on it? Let me know. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. Please do remember to hit the like button if you liked what you saw. And if you're a fan of custom Lego, please do consider hitting that subscribe button, as it's what I do here. And you're going to want to ring that bell because I have a giveaway coming up on Tuesday. Thank you all for your constant support. Thank you for helping me reach 100 subscribers in just over 2 months. If you would like to support me in other ways and help keep this channel going, you can always buy my instructions. But even if all you do is just watch, I still really appreciate it. So thank you for your time, and I will see you on Sunday.